5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, everyone. Apologize if that countdown wasn't working. That's something new here this morning. Okay, we got off to a little bit of a rocky roll to get the day going. It was a long weekend, so we're just kind of getting caught back up to speed this week as we get everything tied back up. Hope everybody had a beautiful, beautiful weekend. It was a great it was an all-weather event in Dover at Dover Motor Speedway this past weekend in the Xfinity and Cup Series. It was quite the thing, I'll tell you. I have never gone through all of the stages of, oh my God, this race is great. Oh my God, it's raining. Oh my God. Ah, it was frightening. Not really, but there was a lot happening in the skies and on the track. So kept things going, just kept things that much more interesting, rather. So, saw some people out at Dover, which was cool. Ran into TJ, Green Flag Pit Stop, there on Instagram. TJ's a good dude. He was hanging out with us for a little while and walking around. Got to meet Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Listen, Ricky's a big fan of early 2000s Cup Truck Series officials shirts. He let me know that. Good guy. And then in the same booth, I bought this Carson Hocevar shirt. So I felt a little dirty for Ricky doing that, but you know, I wasn't gonna not ride the Dente. It's just how this works. Infield Ike, how we doing? Good morning. Oh my goodness. And it feels earlier than usual. I don't know why. Oh, strong coffee. Dover is always an especially exciting weekend for me, just because it is my home track. So as we get started here early, usually I'm live a little earlier than this. So as we get rolling here this morning, Dover for me is like an hour and 45 minutes. We're going to talk about Alan Gustafson and Chase Elliott. We'll get there. Hang in there for a couple minutes. What's up, Adrian? Get the high lifes out. That's what we're about over here. The water, the beer flavored water. But it's only an hour and 40-ish minutes from my house, so it's good to be able to be so close to a track and take a shot down there and be a part of race day the way that I remember it, which was really fun. It was really fun. I haven't, last year Dover, it was clean and clear and the rain stayed away, but for about 4 or 5 years before that, it rained incessantly for days and days and days, every year. So it was nice. It was nice not to have to worry about any of that stuff this year. We were there Sunday up and back. Wish we could have gone Saturday. I had a little family birthday party. Shout out Landon's first birthday. Couldn't miss that one. So him being one is cool. Being an uncle, I guess, is cool. But yeah, it was fun to be able to get in the car early on Sunday morning and get going. I wish they would change the date for this race. I see somebody in the chat, super hot, bring it back to April. For me, and now I know this will never happen. So let's just get this right out of the way, right away. The best time to run this race in reality on a calendar, not on the NASCAR calendar, but on a real calendar, is in September. That's the best time to do this in the playoffs. That would be the best weather period to do it. Are they gonna run Dover in the playoffs with the current next gen Cup car package? Almost definitely no. So I'm grateful that because the spring date, it did rain for so long. But this July date's even tougher because during the summertime, you get that beach rain where it's like, okay, it's going to rain for at least a half an hour every day or every couple of days. So it's tough to time. We need crystal balls and Mother Nature's, notebook to kind of decide when and where and how and see what's happening. So not easy to do, but they still make for a great show at that track. People really show up. I don't know what it looks like on TV. Haven't had the chance to really watch a ton back. I watched some of the extended highlights. But from sitting in my section, the whole front stretch was full. And then as those bleachers kind of peel off into turns 1 and 2, and then into turns 3 and 4, respectively, it was pretty slammed for what I remember it being, especially that there had been a looming forecast for Dover that day anyway. So when I worked for NASCAR, it seemed like it rained every year at Dover for 6 years. Yeah, it was about 4 or 5 years for sure. Racing worldwide technology, but we have to skimp Dover in the playoffs now. We used to be a proper society. It's just the way the car's set up. I don't know if Dover is exactly what they're looking for in terms of competitiveness in the new Cup car. It's tough, right? The dirty air at Dover plays such a factor. It's difficult to sit there and say, okay, let's put this in the playoff. There's definitely a different type of strategy you have to have going to that track than there used to be when Jimmy Johnson used to just go there and beat the brakes off everybody. Chicagoland and Kentucky may be coming back. What do you think? I think the more tracks that come back, the better. I think ultimately, I don't know anything that any of you don't know about most things, but Chicagoland and Kentucky taking dates away from tracks that have 2 dates right now makes sense to me. It makes sense to me in the long run that NASCAR eventually probably goes to every track 1 date a year. Even Bristol, even maybe Daytona keeps 2 dates. Maybe Talladega keeps 2 dates. But I'm not saying it's going to be in the near future, but in the extended future, we look 10 years down the road from now, I think every track's going to probably have a single date. Four to 5 road courses would be a good number. Anything more is way too much. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that. It was interesting to see all the road course racing over the last couple of weeks and then turn that around. And here we are now at not just an oval, but one of the most unique ovals on, in the series in Dover. And, people look at it, they go, it looks just like every other road, but the banking there and the concrete surface really do make it a unique facility to have to rip around and make work. They did use a new tire compound there in the Cup Series this weekend, which I didn't hear too much about. It seemed like SVG had a flat early. Christopher Bell did those 2 little spin-a-willies as on his own. I think that was less about the tire and more about track conditions and maybe how long he'd been going in the run or whatever. I don't think that was a direct tire issue, but that seemed to have worked out pretty good this weekend. I think they were trying to promote more passing, but Chase Elliott really just was out there riding around for most of this race until some strategy went wrong for that team and for a few others, really. Not a ton of track position was gained by guys on those Christopher Bell cautions. One kind of what felt like early in the race, and then the second one much later on the first restart in overtime. Well, yeah, unofficial overtime, whatever they wanted to, I don't know what they called it on the broadcast. The way they were explaining it on PRN was essentially yes, it's overtime, but there's still laps left. So Denny with 70 lap tires had the fastest lap of the race with the final lap. Yeah, I know what the solution is. For me, personally, I know what the solution is to that problem. That was like Joey a couple of races. What was this year, last year? Where was it? It was with that option tire. Maybe it was at Richmond. I don't know. He ran 100 laps on the set of tires or whatever it was. Maybe that was North Wilkesboro. I forget. Somebody can check me on that. But the tire conversation is always going to be something we talk about until they put more power back in the car. And that's, I don't know. Again, nobody has a crystal ball, but maybe that happens as time goes on. Can't say Goodyear isn't trying, but it was tough to hear. Yeah. But what can they do? What more can they do? Everybody was hot on Goodyear a lot of last year, kind of giving them a lot of grief. But it's not their job to be magic wizards. They make tires. And they're going to have to develop tires and have to change form. But I don't think it's not normal to request that a tire manufacturer change the compound 15 times a year. How can you have consistency in racing, consistency in results, but also as a product? How can you be sure? You can't. You have 15 different tire compound combinations. It's not a regular ask, not to me. Denny has always been good on old tires experience. Yeah, for sure. Power's coming back for sure. Goodyear is literally changing tires constantly, so things will never ever be the same. Yeah. I mean, what's interesting though, you talk about the tires and the power and the whole thing. Dover's one of these tracks though. The cream rises to the top because of the way the track is. When we go back and we're going to look at who raced well this weekend, we're going to talk about it here in just a minute in the Cup Series and in the Xfinity Series. The guys who have experience with the cars that are the best cars with the best drivers go to the front. So, qualifying order was something too that was a little wonky this week. We'll touch on that as well. I'm going to do a separate video about that because I don't know. You know what? Let's do a quick little experiment. This is just a public poll. How many of you know how NASCAR sets the qualifying field when qualifying is rained out right now in today's 2025 model at Dover? Because I didn't know. Because I got a text message from a buddy that said Shane Van Gisbergen qualified 6th, and I had to go look because I didn't understand how they had set that qualifying order. So there is a system. I'm going to read it. It used to be by points. Now there are other contributing factors to it. And again, if I'm incorrect ever at any point, I want someone to please stop and correct me so we can learn together. But I looked online, and this is the winning formula, which I guess makes sense because how would SVG be 6th, not 1st? They're not going off previous race results. So according to the internet, 35% of the position is determined by team's position and owner points, 25% by the driver's position in the previous race, the next 25% by the car owner's finish in that race, and then 15% the team's fastest lap from the previous race. So they took everyone's results from Sonoma, applied that blended ranking, and then set the field that way because of the rain. The highest metric score gets the pole, and so on. And that's why Chase Elliott was on the pole. That to me seems really complicated. I'm not a math guy. Numbers are not my friends. So if that's accurate, that's a lot of steps to tell me the fastest cars go to the front. So yeah, I don't know. It's definitely an interesting. I don't know. Because if it were lined up by points, it would have been different. It would have been different. Like where Kyle Larson qualified, started at Dover, like toward the rear. It would have been different. There would have been different. It would have been different. So I'm not super sure on how that works. But I've also reached out to some folks who are in the know to find out. So take that with a grain of salt. I want to make a longer form video about it if that is the way that it is. I think people need to understand that is the way that it is because I don't think that's particularly common knowledge, that they kind of use this metrics formula to create this whole thing. So definitely something interesting, definitely something different, but that's how we got to the green flag on Sunday. But before we got to the green flag on Sunday, ARCA ran at Dover. For me, the most notable part of this, two notable points in this race was a good thing for Brent Cruz that Dover's a small track, because track crew got out to him after that car caught on fire in a hurry. So glad to see he was okay. He jumped out of the car really, really quick and was able to kind of get away before things got real hairy. But they got that car taken care of. Unfortunate, they're going to probably lose that thing, but everybody was safe, which is what's important. I think he even gave like the hood or the bumper away to a fan on the way out, which was like really wild, like this scorched orange hood. Dude's just walking home down through the parking lot with it, which is, you know, I'd have hung it on the wall. But and then Brendan Butterbean Queen wins this race. This kid is just he's gonna dominate ARCA the whole time he's there. I hope they do something with him in trucks and Xfinities. Obviously, he's probably looking into like JRM stuff at some point. That the pipeline's getting full. So it's kind of wild to see how many like really competitive young drivers there are in that camp. I feel like Chevy and Toyota have like this super robust driver development program. I don't know. I shouldn't say I don't hear as much about what Ford is doing in terms of driver development, like at a very young age, like late models and, you know, things like that. Cause that's where Butterbean came from, but you don't hear about Ford at that level trying to nurture the next generation of drivers for their manufacturer teams. So, if anybody knows more about that, I'd love to learn. But Zilich in the Xfinity series, he wins again on a rain-shortened race. This is what, his fourth win of the year? Zilich's win. Saw some stuff from Allgaier, some early flashes from Allgaier. There were some good battles at the front. Let me come over here. Sorry. I got to click. I'm clicking around looking at what I need to say, the words, because if I had to remember everything I had to say, I'd say nothing. So, yeah, it's back-to-back wins for Zilich with his fourth win in 2025 at Dover. This is his first, I guess, for some folks, this is like their first, this is his first oval win because he won at Pocono, but a lot of people didn't really credit that as an oval. Now this one's going to be rain shortened. So it's Connor Zilich wins races. So good news for them. Taylor Gray had a really strong day. He was one of my GridRival picks this week. He just couldn't hang on to it. It felt like he dominated that first stage, but couldn't make it work. Eric Almirola looked really good in this race in that 19 car. I'll tell you what, for a part-time guy running for that Young Life Joe Gibbs Racing race team, it's wild to just see him jump in the car and make magically, like the snap of a finger, a wave of a wand, that car is faster. So really awesome to see him compete. I think if that race had gone green with no rain, I think the 19 would have absolutely been competing with the 88 at the very end. That would have been cool. Oh, that's a good one. I haven't talked about that yet. That brings me to the next Xfinity point. Thank you, Chris. Different Chris. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about a Chris right now. We're going to talk about a Chris with a K. Our Motorsports announced that they had essentially severed ties with Chris Wright, who I have talked about ad nauseum over the last year or two. I only started paying attention to him when Anthony Alfredo, homie, fellow Italian, lost his job at Our Motorsports to Chris Wright in that 5 car. Now, Anthony ran that car real hard, and they finished pretty well in some of the races that they were competing in because he could outdrive the equipment he had. And then Chris Wright appears with sponsor money. Here he comes. Like a lot of drivers. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's your thing. Comes in, starts racing, and it turns into just Mario Kart out there. Okay, fine. Now Chris Wright cuts ties with, or severs ties, mutually agrees to walk away from our motorsports after, this prior week here. He didn't run at Dover. They announced Kazgrala was going to get in the car. And then our motorsports announced they're closing. So just 1, 2, 3, the dominoes fall, and our motorsports is out of the sport altogether. I saw a lot of comments on Instagram and on TikTok about it. And one that really stuck out to me was somebody had commented and said, this is what happens when teams chase big sponsor money and don't get results. And I don't know if that's really was the case there. Maybe there were other factors, but you have to think that lack of results on track really did play a factor in why that 5 car couldn't cut the grade, and that team maybe just felt it wasn't worthwhile anymore. I don't know. It's a shame. I don't ever want to see teams leave the sport. That's first. I don't care who they are. Whether I like them, I don't like them, manufacturers, it doesn't matter to me. No, I hate to see teams leave the sport, but it just, the dominoes fell a certain way in this one, and it's not going to work. Oh, see, I don't know that, Chris. See, that's interesting information to have. That seems to be the path for the modern big hotshot driver. Let's say the hotshot driver, because I know Chris is doing it the hard way, running part-time in the ARCA series. But the hotshot driver nowadays is coming into the sport with a lot of support. So, which is, again, is fine, but they have to back it up with performance. So it's a tough balance, a tough line to toe. And it's unfortunate that team is going to, go away next year, or essentially they're done now. They're done after Dover. So it's unfortunate, but just the way it kind of goes in these situations sometimes. I was really impressed though with the 54 and the 19, even though they ultimately did not win the race. But they were good standouts. We also saw some standouts come up into the Xfinity Series. So LeVar Scott, he qualified his way into his first Xfinity Series race with the Alpha Prime team. He ran this weekend, which is awesome. And then Raja Caruth also running in the Xfinity Series. He always runs. It feels like he always runs here at Dover because he's from the DC area. So that's got to be really cool for him to come here to a track he probably grew up coming to as a kid and run and race in an Xfinity car and get that experience, which is super cool for him and his family. I think I had the chance to meet them one time at track or be around them at track during pre-race ceremony a couple of years back. Just the nicest people. Super family oriented. I loved the whole experience I saw them having and the experience they made for the fans on pit road, even during their special moment with their family when he was racing a couple of years back. The 19 does well wherever Martin was good at. Well, yeah. Yes, that is correct. The car is still set up the same way. Martin knew Dover like the back of his hand, could drive around there with a blindfold on, but the car had to get him there too. So it makes sense that the 19 team in the Cup Series they're running well at tracks that Martin had run well at over his time in that car. My boss had a chat with Stuart Weiss this week. Oh, interesting. Oh, man. Yeah, I didn't know that. That bank thing is interesting. Anyway, what does that do for the Xfinity Series in terms of, standings for that series? because Justin Allgaier has 3 wins. He's leading the points still. But Connor Zilic now has 4 wins, and he is only 56 points behind teammates Justin Allgaier for a championship. Top spot. And as they go into the playoff format, it's going to be bananas to see those teammates all competing. But it's Allgaier, Zilic, Mayer, Hill, Love, Jones, Quapple, Creed, and Taylor Gray. Those are your top 10, and Sammy Smith rounds out the top 10, I should say. An Xfinity Series driver points. We have a new tab up here, playoff picture. And again, Zilic, Allgaier, Hill, Brandon Jones, Sammy Smith, Jesse Love, and Nick Sanchez are all locked into the playoffs right now. You've got Sam Mayer, Carson Quapple, Sheldon Creed, Taylor Gray, and Jeb Burton, rounding out that top 12 there. Jeb Burton, Taylor Gray kind of too high of the bubble. Then you got Harrison Burton and Ryan Sieg too low of the bubble. Jeb Burton and Harrison Burton are the ones who might switch spots. So Jeb is +7, Harrison is -7. As we start talking about playoffs, it feels like this year has just flown by in the Xfinity in both series. But that's kind of where we're at right now, which is interesting. With the Burton brothers going to have to battle. The Burton brothers battle the bubble. A lot of B's there. But yeah, very, very cool stuff from Dover in the Xfinity Series. It's always fun to see that race play out. I wish I could have been there. I was there last year in like the rain shortened Truex win. That race at that track is always fun. But yeah, in the books, Zilic winner. How do we get our announcement on racing in San Diego at Coronado? It's done. It's already being reported on. I don't know if they've made it official, but it's being reported on. There's some people out there who that I personally trust, and you can choose to trust them or not. Breakhard is one of these guys who gets good information from wherever he gets it from and makes some great content. And he has not always an inside scoop, but he's willing to call the information the way he sees it from his sources. So he is awesome. He's made a video about it, I guess, yesterday afternoon or yesterday evening, talking a little bit about Coronado Island. If you've never been to San Diego, it is beautiful there. Coronado Island is humongous. And let me tell you, when you talk about beach views of Southern California, you couldn't ask for better of what they're going to be able to produce at that facility. The other nice part about racing at Coronado Island is obviously I would imagine there's some type of partnership with the United States Navy. And there's going to be a military appreciation push. I would hope. It makes a lot of sense to be able to do during that race because they're racing it on an active naval base. So that would be cool to see. It'll be interesting to see how they set the course up. I'm not familiar with the layout of a Navy base, but it'll be fun to see how they go in there and get it all done logistically. I've been to San Diego many moons ago. Out to Coronado Island, out to the bay there to get on the Enterprise and do the whole touristy bit. But it's just the views out there it's quintessential Southern California. It'll look more like Southern California than when they raced at the Coliseum. Because you'll be on the water, So I'm really excited. I'm really excited for the San Diego stuff. That'll be cool. Who's my sleeper pick for Indy? I don't know. I feel like Kyle Larson, it isn't like that's not a hot take, but he hasn't performed super well. And Indy's one of these tracks where you could see him kind of push back and be dominant at. Considering he's the only driver in the field that's already been in a car on that track this year out of the Cup field. All right, let's talk about the Cup Series real quick. So this race ran fairly standard, right? The Cup Series at Dover ran fairly standard. Oh, I knew you were waiting in here to talk about Gustafson. I knew. We're here. This is it. We're going to start. Because I was listening to the post-race show on SiriusXM too, and people were not happy on there. If they could get a full sentence out of their mouth, they were not happy. There were some people who were enjoying themselves. I've been patient. I'm going to play devil's advocate for Alan Gustafson too, but we'll get to that. Denny Hamlin, though, shows why he is the best at what he does. He didn't always run good at Dover, but whatever he figured out in the second half of his career here at Dover has worked tremendously well, because he's back-to-back wins so far. He's had great runs here, great finishes, and here he is in victory lane. Miles the Monster goes back with Denny in the 11 team for a second year in a row. He starts on those older tires. They choose not to pit after the rain break delay. Those final restarts were a little nervy. How do you know you're going to grip up and get what you need with 70 lap tires? It's not easy. Really was crucial to see how they lined up at the choose cone. Sitting in the stands, I think more people were up and leaning over the person in front of them just to see how they were picking on that front choose cone, because you had 2 JGR guys and 2 Hendrick guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, trying to figure out how they were going to do it in terms of strategy and how they were going to race each other back around on those restarts. Super unfortunate at the end of that one that Christopher Bell, I don't know, maybe there was a little wet spot or something, didn't work out, spins himself, unfortunately takes out Noah Gragson, who had moved up into a top 10 position at Dover at the end there, as well as William Byron got tagged in that, running really, really well at the front. And just Christopher Bell also turned it around off of turns 3 and 4 there at one point earlier in the race. So just trying to push that car, you just see how delicate it is to get on the edge of where the grip is and where it's not. So it's funny that you mentioned that, because Denny did mention, having Martin as a teammate at Dover was attributing it to some of the re-education that he got at that track over the years, that he wasn't good there. Seeing him run there and working with him helped him kind of be where he is now, where he's winning a lot, but doing well at Dover for sure. Chase Briscoe, though, is a big part of the reason that Denny Hamlin won this race. What a shot he gave him to just get out and away from the field there on the final restart, right? They had lined up 1-2, or, one in front of the other, and just was able to get a great push, got a great run going into turns 1 and 2 on the final restart, and just never looked back. And Briscoe had fresher tires too. So they were kind of, Denny's essentially like using Briscoe's tires, because Briscoe's going to be able to push him further and farther and faster out because he's got better stuff. Briscoe did say, though, if it wasn't a teammate he was racing, it would have been dirty, but I'm not going to wreck a teammate. So Briscoe, he wants to win multiple races a year. He feels the pressure still, even after making it into the playoffs with that win at Pocono. I can't say I blame him. There is an expectation to win in the Toyota camp, especially at JGR, especially the way that 19 car had run at Dover over the last few years. I don't think there's anything wrong with a P2 finish. They ran a great race. You have to make sure that if you're in that position as a team, you're not going to let another team come in there and steal a win from one of your 2 drivers. Things aren't going to get silly at the front. You're not going to wreck each other and let somebody else, take your cake and eat it too on a day that should be yours. So really glad to see the teammates work together there. It was a good run for the 11. They executed well all day long. Christopher Bell spun twice running in the top 3, costing JGR that max placement. But William Byron was caught in that aftermath on the second incident. And those are tough things that they're going to have to go back and look at. The 20 team's going to have to go back and look at and try to understand where it went wrong a little bit. So Christopher Bell definitely had a lot of speed, though. He was chasing Denny down in a big way before the rain delay. But just, again, Denny understands the aero blocking at Dover better than most, because he's been aero blocked there how many times trying to get to the lead. And it didn't seem like the aero blocking was quite as much of a factor, at least at the track this year, as it was last year, where if you had somebody in front of you last year, you had not even a chance to get close. This year you had cars that were running competitively, kind of making up time and trying to put something together. You really didn't see guys try to make moves until they had caught up with lap traffic, which played a pretty big role. We saw lap traffic run side by side with the leaders. Daniel Suarez ran side by side with Chase Elliott there for how many laps, trying to not lose, go one down. So, all right, here we go. This is what we've been waiting for. Chase Elliott's decision to pit. Alan Gustafson, they took 2 tires. They probably didn't need to take any tires. But I will say, people want to put Alan Gustafson on the cross. They asked Chase Elliott what he thought. What's it like in the car, Chase? What do you think, Chase? And I get Alan Gustafson. That's his job, is to be the crew chief. But the crew chief can only make the decisions based on what driver information they have when they are ready to make that choice. And if you go back and you listen to some of the team radio, everyone seemed kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out on this pit cycle, what they were going to do. So I think it's wrong to try to hang Alf Gustafson by his toes. I don't think he can take, you can't give him the heat solely. I think it's a miscue by the full team, and they take the wins together, they take the losses together. They're going to take this loss together too, because they probably should have won this race. That car was fast, not fast in dirty air. Where have we heard that story out of the Hendrick camp this year before? Seems to be something they're able to position their vehicles well, setting them up for these types of races. But once he was mired back in the pack, there was no chance. So those were kind of the big things. I will say there were less kind of major dramatic talking points on track. Than I had thought at Dover. I had thought there was going to be a lot more cautions at Dover. But to be able to kind of sit here and just talk, we talk about the bracket challenge. That was part of Sal's GridRival picks this week. I picked 4 selections on GridRival for NASCAR. Only one didn't hit, and it was John Hunter over Ty Dillon. The Cinderella story continues for Kaulig. I'm not convinced that Ty Dillon can't win this whole thing. So I was beside myself. My issue is you knew you weren't going to gain on the 20. Why take tires? Just take 4. Yeah, I think it was just we talked a little bit where, the whole team seemed like they were not convinced it was the right decision, or it was the right decision. You listen to some of the stuff in car radio, and Gustafson's asking Chase, what do you need? How does it feel? What do we think? Looking at the other cars, what they're doing. They all seemed like they didn't have a competent answer as a group. Everybody was kind of second guessing it. So Alan just makes the choice. But I think it's a win as a team, lose as a team mentality. I don't think they can hang up Gustafson by his toes on the pit box because of it, because it just didn't. It's one of those things. If it works, it's great. If it doesn't, it's this. So I think that car's run really well this year. I think Alan Gustafson is people come after this guy. His resume precedes itself. He is the guy to have on the pit box. And I know things aren't always working out the way you want them to, but I think it's a mistake that some Chase fans will argue that he might not belong there or whatever. I think that's a mistake. Do you think NASCAR didn't call the race because of Denny? No, I don't think it was because of Denny. We were sitting in the stands and you could see the weather kind of passing through. Denny dominated. Yes, Dom. It was unbelievable. Once he got to the front, nobody could pass him. It was killer. But the weather, you could see it. It was this cylindrical pocket of darkness that was just blowing around the track. It looked like it was going to miss. The biggest cell of rain didn't hit the track. It went off to the side there, off of turns 1 and 2. And then something just happened to swing through and grab us at the end. But I think they knew it was going to pass quickly. I think they had all the equipment to drive the track. It only took about a half an hour to drive the track. It was hot outside. The sun was still up high enough in the sky that they got some help from Mother Nature drying the track as well. So why not run it? You know, as long as they can get it in before sundown, run the race. So I don't think it was because of Denny. I just think it was an opportune moment to not have to finish a rain shortened race. And the Xfinity Series had just had a rain shortened race. So if you can do it, do it. I think it's better for everyone involved. Whether it was Denny at the front or somebody else, I don't think that would have played a factor. That doesn't play a factor in my mind. But again, Denny wins this race. Chase Briscoe. Alex Bowman has a top 3 run here today. What a run. Kyle Larson finishes 4th. Ty Gibbs in the 5 car. We'll talk about the battle of the ties here in a moment next week. Chase Elliott ultimately finishes 6th. I get it. People are going to be unhappy. Chase fans are going to be unhappy. Could have won this race, but finishing 6th at Dover, escaping a couple of late race things. This is a team that's still running really well. Bubba Wallace found his way up into 7th place. Ryan Blaney, 8th, after starting, I think he was back in like 30th. It was way back. Drove up with some good strategy, some good driving, makes it work. Chris Buescher and Brad Keselowski finished 9th and 10th. Joey Logano with 600th start. I feel like people kind of blew over that. But 600 races is nothing to shake a stick at. He finishes 14th at Dover. What a career Joey Logano has had. My goodness. I'll never forgive him for what he did at Martinsville, but that's okay. Yeah, NASCAR always makes a great effort to go back to green. I think they do try. They're not going to be unrealistic, though. They're not going to look at the weather and look at their people and go, oh, you're telling us it's going to rain for the next 2 hours. Oh, we'll try to dry the track. That doesn't make sense. If they get the information that's right and they can see it, Dover's a great place because you can stand on the top of the press box and you can almost see the ocean. So if there's a weather cell, you don't need a radar. You can look and see what's coming, which is cool. Going to the Brickyard 400 this week. I was supposed to. It almost worked out where I was going to go to the Brickyard and Iowa. Almost. Didn't quite happen. Glad it didn't, though, because I just need to take a little break. I spent a lot of money this weekend at Dover. There's some new things in Sal's Collector's Corner. This wall behind me isn't big enough. Or the things on the wall are too big, and I need to rearrange the wall. Yeah, Bubba really made had a good charge back at the end, just being smart. He was in the Space Force car this weekend. I got to meet with a guy from Space Force. I don't know what Space Force does. They go to space. They do space defense. It's such an interesting, I don't know a lot about it, but it seems super interesting. We're doing things in space, and there's a whole force for it. That car always looks good. Anything he does, Air Force, Space Force, whatever force, those cars always look super, super clean. Last year, I think, was the best one with the B-2 bomber on the side, but people are always going to hate on Bubba. There's that guy. I'm sure people have seen that photo of that guy making its rounds on Twitter. Crazy. It's crazy. 9 was super fast at Indy last year before penalty crossing racing surface. Never forgive him for what happened in Thank you for the follows. I appreciate that too. Some of you guys, I might go to this Indy 6 hour. Ooh, that'd be cool. Indy 6 hour. It's fun. What did you get at Dover? We'll go through that in a minute here. We'll go through it. Some of it I don't have. So the shirt is new. The host of our shirt, the Presidente Margarita. We actually went to Chili's. The marketing worked on us. We went to Chili's after the race up in Newark, Delaware. It's on 95, coming home there. I haven't been to Chili's. This is not an ad, by the way. haven't been to Chili's in 10 years, but I went. It was a good run for RFK. Yes, Tom. That 60 car ran well too until it didn't. They got caught up in something late there with, what was it, with Allmendinger and a couple other of those guys. Maybe it was a Zane Smith caution. Tom, we can still be friends. We just can't talk about Martinsville. That Martinsville wreck, the Charlotte Roval wreck with Jimmy Johnson, and Denny Hamlin beating Truex at the Daytona 500. Those are the three. I just choose to pretend they didn't happen. When I think of those, I think of things like the Coke 600, the 2016 Coke 600, 2019 Coke 600. I think it's just ass whippings that Truex put on the field. So, it makes me feel better. So we can still be friends, I promise. The collection never stops growing. And it's always Martin Truex Jr. stuff. I finally got the all black. I'd been waiting to find an all black Truex car at one of the tents for a long time. Was one that I really, really was looking to have. But this is a Watkins Glen Win car. Furniture Row, Denver mattress. I think I have collected all the Infinity Stones of the Bass Pro schemes at this point, at least the major ones that he ran. I'm looking over my shoulder here. There's a red and black one. There's an orange and black one. I have the Homestead win from his championship season. I have the Richmond one from Gen 6 in the 19. Like, there's so many different Bass Pro schemes. So the all black was one that I had wanted. There's something just about flat black race cars. I know they run them in testing and stuff, but I don't know what it is. It's super clean. And there's that's not to discredit like great paint schemes and the artists and designers that it takes to go into great paint schemes, but just sometimes once in a while, it's okay to have something really sharp, really clean, and really minimalistic. Do you think we see a below the cut line winner? Yeah, I think we do. We got to go back to Dover. We got to go back to Daytona. So you very easily could have another new winner from below the cut line. So I grabbed that, and then I grabbed this one, the 2019 winner, which is great to have. Another Bass Pro scheme. Now we got the Star Spangled Awesome scheme, which I love. Amazing how different the diecasts are from a couple of years back to now. I just wanted I noticed this, taking them out. But even just like the attention to detail is a little different. I don't know. Silly. It's something silly. But I'm sure that there are people who have opinions on it who are like avid collectors. But I did grab, I don't know these things are how do you hold them in front of your face? But I did grab these two from the tents and from some other things as well. They're a little bigger. They were harder to put on the desk. Yeah. Hold on. I'm going to keep talking about what's in the comments here. Let's do a couple of those. And then I have one big thing I'm going to whip out. Cookie Monster is the Grand Marshal for the Brickyard. That's so funny to me. I love the video with Bubba from Sesame Street when they kind of did it. Oh, I love Harvick, but I won't forgive him for taking out Mark Martin shot at 500. Yeah. It's tough. Everybody wants to win, but it's like sometimes it feels like races should go a certain way. Barney Visser made it a point to make sure Furniture Row car was gloss black finish for the Daytona 500 as a show of respect for the race. I never knew that. That is a fun fact. See, Dom, a wealth of information. Thank you, Dom. Yeah, I don't understand the Lionel thing. I actually called Lionel yesterday too. I wanted to reach out to them about that 40 car case that they have. It's like a spindly carousel. Very expensive for acrylic, plastic, and wood. Maybe they put their name on it and the price goes up. I don't know. So it's like $600 for this shelf, this case. It's got little lights in it and stuff. It's really nice, but like $600 is $600. Let's talk. I could get the 2016 Truex, Charlotte Coke 600 win diecast for $600. Need a couple of beers to buy that one, but even that was like $600, and then you have to like get it like one-off shipped. So like it would cost me another 200 just to have it shipped. So we're talking about by the time it's all said and done, taxes, tags, it's like $1,000 for a case for diecast. I go on Amazon, I can buy a glass like display case with the doors or whatever. It's like $200. It's all glass. Sure, it doesn't have all like the places to like put the car, like the mounting points, but like I can go to our friends at Benzik Designs, who I found even on accident last night on Etsy, and buy the 3D printed, high quality 3D printed stands that he has that you can also have as a partner at ATYL. There is a promo code that I'm not going to remember because I'm an idiot. For those of you on the ATYL stream, it is now up on your screen as a QR code. You can shop Benzik Designs. Actually, we're going to throw it up even bigger. Use code ATYL 2025 for 20% off Benzik Designs. I'm pretty sure that's still going on. So if you're interested, do that. But super expensive. So diecast stuff, we could do a whole hour just about diecasts, but Kyle Busch had another good finish Sunday. Yeah, he looked like he was going to contend for a while at the front, and then it kind of faded out later. But good finish for him. Where was he? He finished in 11th place. Got to hear him talk a little bit on the front stretch too about some what makes Dover unique and the comp caution and all that as well. Kyle seems like good people. I'd love to be able to meet him. I wanted him to sign my red Make Cup Cars 1,000 horsepower hat again, but didn't get the chance to see him up close enough to do that. So we've showed you the two Truex cars that we pulled in. I bought a Dale Earnhardt button-up shirt. You've seen me wear that blue one that has like the 24 on the pocket. Bought that at like a thrift store in Charlotte, which thrift stores in Charlotte are cheat codes for NASCAR gear. Just total cheat codes. I'm going to remove one of these things because it's giving me agita. You can find anything, but I found this shirt like in the back of a tent. There was one of these tents in these parking lots where it was very obvious to me these folks had purchased or were purchasing lots of merchandise from wherever, Facebook Marketplace, wherever it may have been. They had this huge tent set up, and the folks who were working the booth were very nice, but they did not know what it was that they were selling in terms of the pricing. So I tried to buy a couple of things, negotiated, haggled a little bit, ended up grabbing a button-down shirt with the Dale Earnhardt Sr. kind of the 3 with the signature on it. I like those shirts. I don't know why. They feel casual yet a little bit classy. And to me, it's like a real testament to like that 90s feel of NASCAR, early 2000s feel. That feels like when all those shirts were kind of at their height. I like them. They're cool. But my buddy Ryan did find a Martin Truex Jr. Rookie Cup Series season #1 car signed. There's no way these people knew it was signed. There's no way, because they would have been fleecing me for it. They would have fleeced him for it. So we got it for like $40, right? They tried to sell me like an old Live Fast Motorsports blaster shirt for $45 or $50. It's like, just very confused on that, on where the pricing came from. But a lot of folks, I don't know if they know what they have. But the diecast game, the merch game is fun. With that being said, I'm gonna show you my last piece here of the day. Now, I have to back way up. Okay, cool. There you go. If you know what those are, oh, Jesus, Louises. I gotta do CAPTCHA. Hold on. Okay. Before I bend it up too bad, I'm gonna put it back over here. Those big steel aluminum signs there are super cool. They're super old school. I've seen them on Facebook Marketplace and stuff, but this a family member had, and it was just sitting in their shed, and they were like, "Oh, I didn't know you were this into it," and they're like, "Let me go take a look. If we have it, it's yours." And they had it, and it's mine. So there it is. I don't know where to hang it on the wall. Running out of space on the wall. So I am kind of at a loss. If you've seen this wall behind me, the ATYL stream gets a little bit of a better view. It's a wider camera angle, but tough to find places to put new things in the backdrop there. Maybe we'll change things up and recycle it, but yeah, it does feel like there's some garage sale tents where they don't know what they are looking at. And this isn't hard to do, right? Like if you are going to resell any type of merchandise or especially collectibles, all you have to really do is go online and look at what the other average sale prices have been. And that will at least give you, a market rate that you can have as a jumping off point. So, I can't really give people an excuse anymore, especially in the world we live in today with AI tools. And it's like, I was in the booth. I was in one of the booths this past weekend, and I thought in front of me was a 2001 Michael Waltrip Daytona 500 car signed, which I had never even seen or heard of. So I took a picture of it on ChatGPT and I uploaded it, and it told me exactly what race it was from. And then I double checked ChatGPT because I don't always trust the results, and it was correct still. So using all those tools and stuff, like it's kind of wild to think about. You can definitely have a good sense of what things are worth out there. I'm sitting in those tents Googling what the prices of things are. Like this car, I paid substantially less for this car than what it was reselling for in recent times. It doesn't matter to me because I'm not a reseller. I'm buying these things for a personal collection. We're talking about getting glass cases. That's my part of this, is I get to just keep it all because I'm an addict. So it's definitely different, but some good stuff out there. It's always fun to go to the tents and kind of poke around and see what's out there and what people are selling. Okay. Talking a little bit. I mean, somebody else commented too on, what is this? I live in Houston, so cheap diecasts are impossible, I found. Yeah, eBay, Circle B Diecast is another place. They do good auctions, pristine auctions. If you're looking for stuff that's signed that has like a COA with it. Somebody asked me here too. Still can't believe the 2 tires stopped by Gustafson. Your thoughts? I thought stay out or take 4. I know. Let's play pretend pit box. If I'm sitting on that pit box, I would have kept him out. That would have been. I don't think you do anything different than what the leaders were doing, which I don't think leaders chose to stay out. We saw Denny run on those old tires, just because how valuable track position is here. Loved the rain delay with Noah Gragson. That was fun, with the Mark Martin shout out with the big fan between his legs. I was cackling. Poor Shannon Spake. They set her up for failure, where they cut from that segment with him and expected her to transition into something more serious and something real. And I tell you what, it's a tough thing to follow when you're on live television, is whatever they were doing down there on pit lane, between the rain delay and getting back in the car and everything. So also too, this is a for me, I guess. I think we're only like 20 followers on TikTok away from 5,000, which is a goal that I've been seeking to reach for like 2 years. So if you are not following me on TikTok, do just till we get to the 5,000. That'd be cool if you want to do that. I'd appreciate that tremendously. Gregson is a character. Bad luck so far this year. Yeah, I hear people talk. We were talking about that at the track as well about Noah. Is it Noah or is it a car problem? And then I think people have really, really short memories. You look back to what Noah did at JRM in the 9 car and Xfinity. The kid can drive. There's no doubt about it. There is a driver talent aspect to who he is and what he does. He can get the job done. Just not in the equipment that he's in, or not the equipment he had been in, going from SHR now to FRM and trying to figure it out. And then even where we see he was in that 43 car for a minute. It's tough to figure out. Talk about the 43 car though. Those cars ran pretty well this weekend. Eric Jones and John Hunter. That team is getting significantly better week over week. I feel like they pick and choose the races that I think they're going to really put a lot of focus and attention on. And they go out there and try to run super competitively in the races they know they can be good. It's the car for sure. I'd like to see Noah in a Spire car with how they've developed. It's going to be tough to pull him away from the Ford camp. Again, like I don't know what the Ford camp is doing behind the scenes, but I do know that in front of the curtain, it feels like Toyota does a lot. It feels like Chevrolet does a lot. Ford Performance has had a great uptick in presence recently. They were actually the ones that hooked us up with the tickets for Dover in a social media giveaway. So that was cool. Shouts Ford Performance. Thank you for that. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. I don't know where they go from here. Like Penske is the premier team, and then Wood Brothers is kind of that satellite car, that fourth car. Seeing that car with the advanced auto scheme this week, super dystopian, very weird. Did not like. I need the Ford Motorcraft car all the time with the gold trim, the blue, the red, white, blue. Just please, I'm sure there's marketing dollars that have to do with why they don't do that, but just if we could do that more, that would be fantastic. Anyway, I think there's a lot of talent at FRM, but speaking of FRM, are we going to talk about the lawsuit stuff? Is it time? Is it time to chat about it? There's been a couple of developments with the lawsuit stuff, even as recent as yesterday afternoon. So 2311 and FRM are going to run as open cars, it seems, the rest of this year. They are going to, quote unquote, lose their charter status because the preliminary injunction has been overturned or rejected, or whatever legal jargon is the right phrasing for that. Which is tough, right? We don't know what that situation is going to unfold into being, but it will affect teams and drivers as it goes on. NASCAR, though, seemingly wants to play ball because they're letting more. What is it now? There's new rule changes as of yesterday. I'm going to get this one. I'm going to actually pull up what the actual words are because I want to make sure I don't misspeak on it. So NASCAR has updated the rule book to state that they can limit entries to 40 teams with open teams based on owner standings. So typically an open car would have to qualify their way in. So if the 78 car would have been faster than the 23 car at one of these tracks coming up here, both of them are open cars now, technically, the 23 would have packed up and went home. With this rule change, what it allows people to do, what it allows teams to do, is to have a guaranteed spot on the field based on owner points. So if you're a full-time team now and you happen to be an open car now and you get to use that as your benchmark. So it would prevent 2311 and Front Row from missing races this year while the lawsuit is ongoing, because they're not going to have less owner points than some of these part-time teams like NY Racing and Live Fast or others, right? So right now, the way that the charter deal works is NASCAR has those charters. They didn't sign the charter agreement. They essentially surrendered their charters to NASCAR. So NASCAR is the one who owns them. That's why when a couple weeks back, when they started talking about the court case again, people reached out to NASCAR to buy them. How can you buy something that a team already has? Well, they don't have it, according to the legal paperwork. The court asked NASCAR not to sell them until the court case had been brought to a conclusion. And it seems that NASCAR is going to abide by that request, and they will wait until this goes to trial in December to make any major charter sales based on whatever the court ruling will be. That's about all the information I know about the court case. It seems like it changes a lot. It seems like they go back to court and they appeal almost weekly or bi-monthly to try to understand what is going to happen for them. I just hope that the series realizes that if you pull the rug out from Michael Jordan, you're going to lose a lot. Sure, you could sell those charters and make some money and have new teams and it'll all be hunky-dory. But I think having the brand presence of Michael Jordan as a 23XI team owner is worth more than that in the grand scheme. I think it would be a poor decision on NASCAR's part to try to pull the rug on them. So I don't think they will sell those charters out from under them. I do think they will wait, especially now that this rule change has happened too, where it's like, oh, you know, we'll do the 40-car field and include owner points for open cars. Like it seems like a little bit of an olive branch, but don't be fooled because it's very beneficial to the series as well. To have those cars on track, big sponsors in things like Jordan brand, McDonald's, Grillo's Pickles for FRM has been a huge partner for that team this year. Rush Trucks has been a premier partner for the 4-car. There's all kinds of brands and partners that are have not just been part of these teams' histories, but have been a part of the sports history. You think of Rush Truck Centers. I mean, how many cars has Rush been on? Monster Energy also, I forgot about them. They're running on that 35 with Riley Herbst. You know, these are premier partners in the Cup Series that have run and spent money on marketing and advertising throughout the years here. And I think it's a respect thing that I think everybody's kind of just trying to play nice in the sandbox until the powers that be tell them to get out of the sandbox. So I'll take JRM getting some charters on a discount. Could be. If we were talking about that on the way down. When does Dale Jr. buy a charter or buy into a team, right? Maybe there's an opportunity for him to. People have been talking about Dale Jr. getting a piece of RCR for a long time. I don't know if you guys heard any of the radio chatter after the race at Dover. RC kind of got on the radio and, gave credit to the drivers, gave credit to Dylan and Kyle Busch, but was quoted as saying, like, we need to get some cars. We got to get the cars. The drivers are doing what they can, but the cars we need to improve. So just tough for them. Would love to see the 8 and the 3 run competitively, but we know that they've had some struggles. They've had a great run in the Xfinity Series, are having a great run in the Xfinity Series. Just playoff drivers every year, championship contenders every year there. So if they know what they're doing, it's just a matter of figuring it out on the Cup side a little bit more efficiently now. Yeah, I would be stunned if Junior replaced MJ. Even then, I still think it would be shooting themselves in the foot. As big as Dale Jr. is, nobody is Michael Jordan. So, yeah, bringing the 8 font back to the Cup Series would be crazy. Oh, I forgot about that too. Yeah, Legacy. Legacy's trying to buy that 3rd charter. It's a mess. The charter talk just makes my brain melt because there's so much that goes into it. Because now there's lawsuits everywhere. And who really understands what's going on with the lawsuit? We're now all like professional court beat journalists out here trying to figure out what the legal ramifications of charter sales are. Again, what other sport do you hear about headlines like this? None. Like, it's crazy. We get like a daytime soap opera and a professional motorsports competition out of NASCAR every week. What if it's not the cars? What if it's not Kyle adapting to the Gen 7s and Dylan ain't it? Kyle is long in the tooth and Dylan has never been in it. Kyle Busch ran well, has run well in the next gen car. He's won races in the next gen car. So I don't know if it's not the car. Austin Dillon has always been kind of a lukewarm driver. I mean, the unfortunate thing for Austin Dillon is one of his most memorable moments is going to be that Richmond race. That and he's a Coke 6 winner, so that I'm sure will go to the top. And then he had that big wreck at Daytona. So I do think a lot of like the legacy, I'll call them legacy drivers, like Kyle Busch, like Martin Truex, like Denny Hamlin, even Chase Elliott, I see as a legacy driver, the way he drove the Gen 6 car now in the Gen 7. They can't drive these Gen 7 cars off the right rear. So it's a different driving style, and you have to really adjust to that. And not everybody can do it or wants to change their driving style. And I think that's part of it, but I think more of it is that's the team's job, is to set the car up for the driver to help them win. And, it's just adapting to what is possible for the car and what is possible for the driver and making that come to some kind of understanding, some kind of harmony there. Jesse Love has been in the 62 car this year for Beard Oil Motorsports. So he ran at Bristol for them. He's going to run again at Indy in that 62, I believe. So they're putting drivers in the cars. Austin Hill is running the 33 car for RCR this year as well. They're putting drivers in the cars. So I don't know. I mean, look at Corey Heim even. Another good example of is it the car? Is it the driver? How much do you need? It's a tough thing to try to figure out without really having more intimate knowledge of what teams are doing behind the scenes, and we don't have that. I don't have that. But we move into Indy. Let's go to the schedule. Trucks. Where are the trucks next? I feel like I haven't seen a truck race since Lime Rock. Okay, yes. So the trucks will run at Raceway Park, which is a smaller track. But that truck at IRP is a ton of fun. That race will put on a show. So if you get a chance to tune into that, make sure you do. It's been Heim time a lot this year, but IRP is one of those tracks where you can give somebody a little bump, a little shimmy, a little shake. So you never know what's in there for IRP, what to expect for IRP. I haven't heard any news about Dodge or Ram yet. I know I talked a couple weeks back about a truck team Greg Van Alst was bringing on. I believe that team is going to be Toyota supported. Personally, if no new teams are created just for Dodge, I feel like ThorSport will be the one to take advantage of the situation and jump over. That's not news. That's just speculation from me. When I look at the truck series, right? And I go down to owner points. Let's scroll down, right? We look at some of the full-time teams. And there's an opportunity for some of these teams to jump over, for sure. I don't know who makes sense, though. What does a timeline look like for Xfinity, Dodge to Xfinity and Cup? Probably not until 2026, 2027. Depending on what happens, depending on how much money that they have. Stellantis just posted a loss for the last quarter. They're obviously, a lot of these OEs are making new investments in their fleets. There was a bill recently passed in Washington that There's no more fleet emission standards. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with what that means, fleet emission standards means if Sal's car brand makes 15 or 20 different cars, in total, they have to meet a certain mile per gallon standard. So my 15 cars, all their MPGs averaged together, cannot exceed X number. Well, now that's no longer there. So you can have a fleet of 10 cars that you're offering to the public for all V8s. They could all be V8s. If the market just dictates that that's what it wants, manufacturers can go forward and do whatever they like. So it'll be interesting to see maybe how some of those off-track things shape up to affect things in the motorsports side. The SRT brand for Dodge is coming back. So it'd be interesting to see how they kind of line this up. They seem like they're really bought into going back into motorsports. So Toyota bring back the 5.7 and the Tundra. They might. What is your take on the charters? Do you see them getting rid of them in the future? I don't think they'll ever get rid of them. It's a big value proposition for the series, and it's really the only thing that gives the teams the ultimate value, right? I do think the teams should own the charters outright. I don't think you should own it forever. It's just like, I think it should run just like if you had purchased an NFL franchise, right? That's essentially what charters are. They're franchise rights to a team. Now, that's my opinion on it. Yeah, NASCAR, I don't think, as a sanction, the NFL doesn't sell franchise rights to prospective expansion teams or new cities. Like, that's not how sports works to me. I get from NASCAR's perspective, they want to keep control over that because there's money to be made for them there. It gives them a lot of control over what happens in the sport and who races and who doesn't, and what manufacturers can enter and exit, and what teams and what people can enter and exit based on those charters. So there's a lot of control that the sanctioning body has by holding on to them. But I do think it will eventually, through all of what we're going through now, we'll look back in years gone by or years from now and think, wow, interesting that that's the way it used to be versus the way it is at that time. Kyle gets a lot of credit for driving for Gibbs. Anyone can be good in those cars. Kyle is good, but him in a Gibbs car was great. That 18 M&M's car, I mean, was one of the most dominant cars for how many years? He was good in the 5 car for Hendrick. I do think that the cars have a lot to do with the success. You have to know what you're doing. You know, Kyle Busch knows what he's doing, but it's one of those deals where if you have the right equipment on the right day at the right time. I was just watching the 2016 Coke 6 with Martin Truex when running that race. Martin Truex had a 5-second slower pit stop, the first pit cycle in that race, than the car that was behind him. That was Denny Hamlin. They both come down pit road, 16-second pit stop for Truex, 11-second pit stop for Hamlin. This is the 5-lug era, so just, use that as a frame of reference. Wheel gets hung up, whatever. Comes out on pit road, still beats 5 seconds slower on pit road, still beats the car behind him off pit road. Then, not only that, on the restart, puts his foot down and gets another 2-second lead after that. So it's like, does the car have something to do with it? Yeah, it does. Because there were races where MTJ in that Furniture Row car, it seemed like they were out there on a tricycle. A lot of teams, I'm sure, and a lot of drivers have had those days. But I think the way that the cars are set up and the way that things work plays a tremendous role. Do you think Daniel Suarez will drive for Dale Jr.? It makes the most sense from a competition perspective to see Daniel Suarez move into the Xfinity Series at JRM in the 9 car. There'll be a vacancy in the 88 as well. I think Junior's committed to run like 2 or 3 races, but if Daniel Suarez moved to JRM in the Xfinity Series next year, I wouldn't be surprised if he won that series champion next year, because Zilich is going to move up. You got to think Jesse Love is on his way up to something bigger and better in the next year or two. But even without the rookie competition, Daniel Suarez is a good race car driver. He's an excellent race car driver. You don't get to see how excellent he is every week, but I think if you look at some of the things that he has done and done well, you can recognize that he is not a slouch. So I think being able to be in competitive equipment for him would be tremendous, would be a big deal. Now, the question is, people have talked about this quite a bit. I think he's going to try to stay in the Cup Series. I think the sponsors that support him, I think they want to be represented on Sunday. So how will that play a factor? Maybe you see Daniel Suarez at Spire. Michael McDowell's deal's kind of coming up. Justin Haley, how well has he been performing? There's some teams out there that certainly would look for his services at the Cup level, I think, as well. But yeah, all in all, a great weekend at Dover. I will say one thing that really stunned me about being at the track this weekend is they're building houses across the street from the track, off the back of turns 1 and 2. 1 and 2. Fan zone is in 3 and 4. You walk around the back, really off the back of the backstretch. But where the camping lot is, they're building a new apartment complex. And I've seen this song and dance before, right? Racetrack on open land. Delaware is a state that they are rapidly developing because people in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania cannot afford to live in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. The average person cannot. So Delaware is becoming an escape for a lot of folks to stay local without getting fleeced on property or housing or whatever you want to call it, whatever. But I've seen them build new homes across from racetracks in the past. Sure, Dover has one date. It's one weekend a year. But all it's going to take is a handful of whiny people to complain about the noise and the conversation. Just having the conversation around, just having the negative press around it is infuriating to me. And if you live near a racetrack or you purchase a home near a racetrack, it's a racetrack. It would be like purchasing a home next to an airport. Just because you bought a house next to an airport doesn't mean they're going to shut the airport down. That's not how it works. So I saw that when I was walking to the tents first thing Sunday morning and my chest hurt. So I don't know what that'll be. I'm sure somebody said here in the chat, maybe it's SMI selling the land. Maybe there's a clause in the sale that says something about that. There is federal law and state law. State law has been passed in Iowa about that, where they're grandfathering the tracks in. So if you purchase a home next to a racetrack, the racetrack is not liable to be shut down because of noise complaints. You bought a house next to a racetrack. So I did see that though as we walked over to the tents. Tents were good. That was just kind of walk you through my day. Tents were good. Some good stuff. A lot of Truex stuff. A lot of the Truex stuff they try to take you for because they know it's a home track. But there was some good stuff. Tires. A lot of tires I see circulating. Maybe it's just because I have the table now and I notice more of it. I'd love to get a second tire. But again, though, a lot of people didn't know what they had. Where it's like, hey, man, what car is that tire off of? Or what year? Or what anything? Can you get? Well, there's numbers written on it. Well, that's not telling me anything about it. Like, do you know anything about it? Or are you just throwing stuff in a truck and selling it? So that was kind of discouraging a little bit, but we weren't really in the market for tires. When me and Ryan walk around the tents, we know what we're looking for about whereabouts. What kind of what die casts are we looking for? So, or what kind of product are we taking home this year? So we kind of go with a plan. He'll look half the tent. I'll look half the tent. We know what each other are looking for. It's like a team. It's like American Pickers, you know? That's like us a little bit at those things. That'd be a cool TV show, going around to all the tents at the racetracks and doing like a show about it. I don't know if the market's big enough for that, but that'd be a fun experience. It was a little discouraging seeing the 19, or not discouraging, but a little disheartening seeing the 19 out there with no MTJ. We did get to see Ryan run. He ran on Saturday in the Sam Hunt Racing number 24 State Trooper car, which was really cool. The scheme looked really cool. The helmet was really cool. Again, unfortunate that race got cut short with the rain. He was my pick to win, just because he had won there 2 years prior. But obviously those 2 years he had been running that 20 car for Junior Motors, or for Joe Gibbs Racing. But always got to root for the hometown guy. Yeah, my buddy Ryan bought an old one diecast signed from the rookie season for Truex. See, I am now having this problem where I'm trying to now collect all of the things like Infinity Stones. And, you spend money on this stuff, but I'm also just like, just packed in. It's just, I'm losing track of where things are in terms of like, okay, where am I going to put this stuff? I have stuff from when I was a kid and, oh, that's cool. Let me grab one of those. That's why I don't buy the little cars. Because I know that they'll just be everywhere. But yeah, we went out to the tents. There was some great stuff. They always do a pretty good job. Less tents than usual. Because of the construction happening across the street there, those new townhomes or those new condominiums that they were building. So there were quite a few less places. They did set some up out in the parking lots, which was good. A lot of sheet metal. Not anything that I took home, but there was a pretty solid amount of sheet metal, Dover sheet metal. I will say, though, we just get a round of applause in the chat for the Dover, Delaware Home Depot and their crew that we use their bathrooms every year. It is an oasis in a desert of porta potties, ladies and gentlemen. And they do a wonderful, wonderful thing for us race fans by giving us a place to just feel good about making a movement. We got a little bit of air conditioning. It's clean enough. It's great. So if you're in Dover, Delaware, hashtag not an ad. Great bathrooms. Great. I'd like to do bathroom reviews at racetracks. I think it's needed. If I can get out to more races, I'd do more racetrack bathroom reviews because people need to know where the spot is. Because when nature calls, sometimes it's not a soft call. It's an alarm bell. So it's good to know where you can go. I'll say that. And then also not a hashtag ad. The Triple Dipper is just as good as Carson Hocevar says it is. It's delicious. So Chili's actually DM'd me, which was funny. I laughed quite a bit at that on the way home from Dover in the car. But yeah, I don't have a ton more to cover off on today, unless we all want to sit here and chit chat about some different exciting things that you want to talk about. I know a lot of people want to talk about the Gustafson stuff and Chase Elliott stuff. So I don't know, obviously a bad call for them. Those things are going to happen. It's unfortunate. What are you going to do though? I mean, what are you going to do? It's not going to be perfect every week, but I think that 9 team has a lot. They're learning a lot still, even with all the experience that team has. They're still learning. Oh, did we talk about the in-season challenge? I feel like I'm losing my mind a little bit. The in-season challenge with the ties, or is going to be the battle of the ties at Indy this week. But John Hunter and Ty Dillon going back and forth at Dover was something to see. I mean, that was the battle for me. Outside of the battle for the lead, that was the battle of the day and the strategy to try to put those two cars in front of each other, even being laps down. You could tell they wanted to beat each other. And I think this in-season challenge, for all the flack that it's gotten because a lot of the top drivers were knocked out after Atlanta. It shines a light on folks that maybe deserve a little bit more appreciation than they usually get. So Indy will be a great weekend for guys named Ty, whose grandpas own Cup teams. So good for Ty Gibbs and good for Ty Dillon this week. It'll be interesting to see what they do at Indy. My heart tells me that Ty Gibbs will advance. Ty Dillon will advance. My head tells me that Ty Gibbs certainly has better equipment, and will probably be the one to realistically win. But I don't know how you can. Ty Dillon was the lowest seeded driver in this bracket challenge, and he's in the final. So I really don't know. But I do know it will be a good time to keep up with and watch and be entertained by at Indy. Or not the Indy 400, sorry, or the Indy 500, the Brickyard. Ooh. Let me look up here real quick. So the Brickyard 400 is coming up. I feel like the Brickyard 400 used to be a bigger deal. I get this is the first year we're really kind of back at the Brickyard, right? Yeah, this is the first one since 2020. So it's been 5 years since we've been back at Indy as a series. So I think it's hard to know what to expect when we talk about like, oh, who's your picks for Indy? Oh no, they were back last year. I'm sorry. I'm reading this date wrong. Why do they have this listed as 2025 on a 2025 page with a 2024 date? Okay. Well, never mind. They got me good. Anyway, last year was the return for the first time since 2020. I apologize. Kyle Larson was your winner. Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, Bubba Wallace, Todd Gilliland, Austin Cindric, Daniel Suarez, and Noah Gragson rounded out the top 10. Chase Elliott rounded out the top 10. So I'll be honest with you, I don't remember watching this race last year. Where was I? Oh, that's because I was away. I was away for work this week last year. That is why I don't remember watching it, because I didn't watch it. How do you like the Altcast? I haven't watched the Altcast. I think it's an interesting concept to try to play off of what the NFL has done, but I think there's better ways. Maybe there's some more engaging hosts that they could bring in to kind of keep things interesting. I know they're trying to do like celebrity appearances. I saw like the Rizzler and some other people that they're trying to bring into the fold, as they get more involved in the sport, try to get them involved in the broadcast and get some new eyeballs on things. I'm a kind of a traditionalist. I like the broadcast team that they have at TNT. I loved the broadcasts we had from Prime. Even Fox, the team itself, like it's fun to listen to. It's not perfect. It'll never be perfect, but I love listening to Mike Joy. Kevin Harvick has been a breath of fresh air, and Clint is that nice comedy relief in the booth. Every booth has that. Listening to Dale Jr. and Steve Letarte, is a treat. They, talk about drivers and crew chiefs working together on the track, off the track, in the booth. Those two have, their brains hum at the same frequency, it seems like. So I really like them. It's hard for me to watch other broadcasts, but I'm glad that they're doing it. I think it's a good thing that they're doing it. I hope they don't go so far as to do like what the NFL has done with like the animated altcasts of the race with like the slime on the field and all that. I think that's a little too gimmicky for me. I think it's too gimmicky. It was too gimmicky for me in the NFL too, but it's not for me at the same time. They're trying to really bring in a young generation of fan to the sport, but the Prime broadcasts to me were the best still. I haven't really watched a ton of the TNT ones because I've been at 2 of the races so far on TNT. So I don't have a ton. I don't want to like say it's good or bad or the other because I really haven't had a lot of time to sit there and think about it. What I have seen though, I've enjoyed. I obviously they're limited in what they can do post-race wise. So It's different. It's different. CBS used to be awesome at broadcasting NASCAR. CBS had good races. I don't remember. CBS was years ago. I don't remember. Happy to have everybody here, though, on a Tuesday morning, by the way. Appreciate everybody stopping in. There's 111 viewers here across the ATYL Media channels. A lot of Twitter X viewers. I don't know if you're there. If you're there on Twitter X, we appreciate you. Follow along. There's some viewers on the YouTube channel as well. I appreciate everybody who's dedicated on there. Ike and Dom and everybody who comments on the YouTube live stream. And then everybody on TikTok as well. That's my baby. So I appreciate everybody in the communities that we have here at ATYL Media, as well as my personal accounts on Instagram and on TikTok. I will shout out new partners. We're doing things with GridRival. Even if you're not into gambling, GridRival is still like a great place for fantasy motorsports outside of like traditional NASCAR channels. So if you're looking to get something a little bit different than what you have, you don't have to spend any money on fantasy. It's just for fun. You can join leagues and do different things just like you would do in other sports. If you do choose to throw a couple bucks and make things spicy, you can use promo code SlideJob to get 100 entries for free. So that's my shameless plug. Happy to have GridRival as a partner. I never did in all my days did I think, oh yeah, Sal's going to sit on the computer and talk about cars going roundy round and someone's going to help him with a partnership like this. So very cool stuff there. Very excited. There's a few of us here at the ATYL on the ATYL team that are doing GridRival things, and I'm looking forward to collabing with some other creators on some GridRival stuff. We're having some conversations about that right now, and should be fun. This week we are talking with NASCAR John on Wednesday morning. If you know John from the internet, he just got shout out by Mamba on Mamba's Insta. So maybe I'm a little too plugged into the internet, but John is a pastor and a NASCAR fanatic. Guy can identify races with his eyes closed, it seems. Does some things at Dominion Raceway and some short track racing as well. So I'm really looking forward to chatting with him, especially that we're both doing short track things. I will be at Wall Stadium Speedway this weekend. It's me and the Mrs. 7-year anniversary this week, Friday. So we used to be in Vegas every year. I used to be in Vegas for work. She used to come with me on these work trips, but it got tough because the work trip changed. They changed the schedule of the event, but you'd work for 8 hours a day and then go back to the hotel and you'd be dead. So we're taking a little vacation Friday and Saturday, coming back Saturday afternoon. I'll be going to the track right from our little trip right to the track. So that'll be fun as well. Have you heard anything about NASCAR 25? It's going to be a release date. I don't have a release date, but I have heard some different things. Apparently the game looks great. None of us have seen it. I don't think they've released any gameplay just yet. But I know that you have to start at certain points. Based on what I've seen, you have to start at certain points in the career progression. There's some limitations that they've set so that people go through. Like, it's supposed to feel like a NASCAR career. That's what it's supposed to feel like. And from what I understand, that is what it will be, where you have to come up through ARCA and you have to race up. And I think a lot of people are looking at that and they're kind of poo-pooing on it. But iRacing developed this game. Now, if I put somebody on iRacing and I slap them into a cup car and tell them to go race, odds are they're going to put their foot on the gas and they're going to spin the car off pit road and go right into the wall. And nobody's having fun doing that. So I think it's smart. It's smart that they set up a system where you have to learn and graduate up as a driver, even in that virtual situation. So that'd be cool when it comes out. I probably won't play it. I'll be honest with you. It's a console game. I don't even know if it's coming out for PC. Usually they do when they come out for, Yeah, fall 2025 for NASCAR 25. PlayStation 5, Xbox, and Windows. So yeah, it'll come out on PC. Maybe I will check it out. But there is no hard release date yet. Let's see, do they have anything on Twitter that they've slipped up and given us? So they're doing some developer spotlights, and Dale Jr. has been a consultant on the game. I would imagine most Steam and Microsoft are my two sources of games these days. Video games are getting more expensive. I'm 30, so I remember when video games used to come out and you used to throw a 50 down and they'd let you take it home. Then I remember video games were like $60. That was what you paid for the longest time. Games are getting more expensive because they have more content in them and because there's different microtransactions. I don't know what this is going to cost, but if, based on all the years I've spent gaming, I'd have to imagine this is going to be in the $70 to $80 price range. Depending on what they're going to include, because we don't have all the details yet. I hope that they make it really affordable for folks, because the last couple games from like motorsports games and some of the past releases weren't, I think, what would up to snuff with what the fans thought it should be. Yeah, so we've had some images. So I'm like looking on Twitter. We've had some images from like menus, some menu images, which look really crisp and really clean. They go through a full you have to go through practice, and they give you this full schedule with event countdowns and the whole thing. So it looks very streamlined. So it looks very well done. iRacing does a great job developing stuff. I have my gripes with iRacing, but when it comes to like in the game on the track, there's nobody who's doing it better, really. Sorry, flipping back and forth, checking the comments. Sometimes I forget to check the comments on the YouTube side. Sorry. But I don't know too much more about the video game besides what is out there kind of floating around. I expect it to be a success just because the last few releases have been so underwhelming, unfortunately. So somebody asked who my predictions for the final 8 were, or the round of 8. You talk about the round of 8 in the playoffs. I think Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, or just Christopher Bell. It's 3. William Byron. I think Chase Elliott makes it in there. I can never count out Joey Logano, so I would also include Joey Logano in that. Even though he's not really performing the way he should, I would also put Ryan Blaney in there. That's 7. And then the 8th driver for me probably is Tyler Reddick. That's not a super hot take. Those are kind of, maybe Joey's the hot take, but I think it's really early to start talking about round of 8. Really early. I like the idea of going to San Diego. I think San Diego is going to be a great experience for the series. Being in Southern California, I think it'll be a very different experience than what we saw in Chicago. Road course, street courses, like them or don't like them. This isn't like they're adding San Diego, right? It's just replacing Chicago. So, I think people can rest easy knowing that there's not another new road course coming to the schedule. But we'll see. It's been really well received from what I've seen online. They're going to run it at Coronado Island, at the military base. So logistically, it'll probably be a little cleaner. Hopefully they pick a date. I don't know if they'll do it 4th of July weekend, but hopefully it lines up where they're already on the West Coast swing, and it's a little easier on teams and drivers and hauler drivers and whoever's logistically moving these things out there. I think we forget that it takes a lot of people to make these events come to life every weekend. So Hopefully it gives them some time and gives them what they need as well. I know we did, Mexico and then Pocono back-to-back weekends. That probably could have been scheduled differently for the sake of the hauler drivers and the teams, where they have to fly all over God's creation instead of just kind of staying in one regional area at the very least. But again, Indy is next week as we get close to time here. Indy is next week. I'm excited for Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You know, the Brickyard is a crown jewel. It's a legacy race that has so much history. Kyle Larson, the winner there last year, 2024. You know, Riley Herbst won here in the Xfinity Series last year. I'd have to tell you that, you know, not a hot take again, but I would look for the 20 car to really perform well. For the few pitfalls that they had this week with the spins at Dover, they looked like they had a complete race coming together. If they could have kept it straight. So that's my pick for my winning pick for Indy. I have been quietly pulling for Carson Hocevar to get his first win. I think a lot of fans are as well. Whether you like him or not, I think he's just a young talent, and people who can recognize that. If you listen to his Dale Jr. download conversation, I think, you know, I gained some new respect for Carson in that conversation, where he kind of rationalizes some of his behavior that maybe people have been scrutinizing over the years. You know, he's a kind of driver that, if I was a driver, I would kind of see myself like that as well, like from a personality kind of mentality perspective. Just throwing it all out there. So I'd love to see him do something. He finished 12th here last year, so we'll see if he can do anything. But Kyle Busch finished 25th. There was a wreck. So yeah, 30th on back was wrecked. So guys like Denny Hamlin were out. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. The 20 car seems like it makes the most sense to me, at least right now. Maybe Ryan Blaney. He was a P3 finisher here last time around. So gonna be some good action. Noah Gragson finished here 9th last year in that 10 College car. Maybe there's a secret there that Noah knows that nobody else does. But I think the 20 car comes home with the victory this weekend. Between him and the 5, maybe we'll get a good battle with the two of them at the front of the field. Oh my goodness, I'm exhausted. I apologize. It is NASCAR really is a real life traveling circus when you really see the logistics behind it. You know, what other events do they pull in a giant rubber duck like they did at Dover? You know, BMX trick bikes. Where can you go get, you know, Zins in a trailer? Like it's such a wild, wacky experience. And there's a race going on. All the PR people and all the drivers and all the teams and all the tires and all the fuel and all the. I was in Charlotte earlier this year and I saw them all leaving to go. I think it was to Nashville or wherever they were headed out to. I forget what weekend it was. And it's just a line of trucks, just a line of 18-wheelers to get out of the city, to go to where they're going, to get out of the area, I should say, to go where they're going. Because they're not all in like city settings. But getting down 77, they're all there trying to go where they need to go. So it is truly a traveling circus. And at Dover, there's a casino too. Yeah. And they're trying to do more. Like Talladega, they have a concert. A lot of these venues, they have concerts now to try to continue to draw in new fans during race week or race weekend. So trying to compete with F1, trying to compete with IndyCar. IndyCar is doing a great job too, marketing their product. NHRA doing a great job of marketing themselves. They just had a new world record. Fast cars in NHRA. You tune into Nitro Nation Monday nights with Big Duke. Get all the latest. He was up here last night on the ATYL channels breaking it down. Who else? Above the Yellow Line, ATYL Live is every Wednesday night. 4 laps, IndyCar coverage with MJ and Andrea. Catch that on YouTube. ATYL Media channels again. Got some great shows. I mean, anything you want to know about in the motorsports world, in the motorsports community, this is the place to be. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you can find Above the Yellow Line. And again, myself, you can find me, Slide Job Sal, on Instagram and TikTok primarily. You can find me on YouTube. I don't really post a lot there, but I'm there too. Just hoping to continue to grow and expand here. We're close to the 5,000 follower mark on TikTok, which is really great. One last thing I will mention, though, before we leave for the day. I want to just make sure I took notes on this, because I take notes on everything now, because if I don't write it down, I will forget. There is an Instagram account out there that has been stealing creators' content and passing it off as their own. Now, while the legality of doing that is really murky, it's just kind of dirty to do. If you're a creator in the community and you're stealing from other creators in the community to accelerate your own, your own metrics and KPIs on social media, I get it. I get what you want to do, but without giving credit or tagging anybody in these things, I've had folks who paid me to go shoot video for them at races. Somebody offered me that deal this past weekend at Dover. I shot a bunch of video, put it in a Google Drive. He sent me a couple of bucks. Great. Now, not everybody has to do that, but if you see people's content being repurposed and redistributed, and it's not theirs, and they're not tagged in it, nobody knows about it, just throw your hand up, tag us in it. We'd love to see who it is that's trying to undermine us and pull the rug out from under us as creators, as we try to continue to seek validation in the community to get things like press credentials, to get things like, access to interviews and media time and drivers and industry folks. Because all that does is it really just cuts away from the validity of our content if anybody can just go out there and recycle it off as their own. Lucky Dog on Track, that was the account. So they're a bigger account. They probably will face no repercussions for it. A lot of people follow them for news and updates, but myself, NASCAR John, the Motorsports Enthusiast, Andrea and MJ from Laps Down podcast, they've had stuff taken by this account as well. So if you see something, say something. That's the way to do it. If you help us all out a little bit, and we can't have our eyes everywhere, but really hope those people stop doing that, please. You reach out to them and nobody answers you, but I really hope they stop doing that. So that's going to wrap it for me today. That was my final public service announcement to everyone. Please give all these accounts for ATYL Media a follow, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and then myself. You can find me if you want to keep up with the latest NASCAR news. You want to see some of the diecast stuff that I do. You want to follow along with the fan travels, the journey of where I go and how I do things. It's a great time. We're having fun over here. Oh, thanks for the gifts, Chris and Outlaw Racing. I appreciate that, guys. You can catch me at some of these races coming up. I am very strongly hoping to go to Watkins Glen and New Hampshire. Those are the last two on my list for the year. Might attempt, we talk about it every year, may attempt a Charlotte Roval trip in October. That's always one that gets kicked around as a group trip, and it never quite makes it out of the group chat. So I'm hoping to get to Watkins Glen in New Hampshire. Those are the next two that are at least close by to me, and go from there. So if you're out at those races, let me know. There'll be some good times to be had, enjoying these things. And next week, Indianapolis Brickyard 400. If you're going, I'd love to live vicariously through that. So I'll be keeping up with what everybody's up to. But the Cookie Monster will be the Grand Marshal. Cookie Monster knows a few things about going in circles. Cookies are circles, right? Makes sense to me. Never been to the Glen. Never been to Never been to the Glen, never been to New Hampshire, never been to the Roval. So those would be 3 new races for me in general, in addition to this year. I've been to Pocono a few times. I've been to Dover a few times. I've been around all over a few times. So I don't have tickets to any of these things yet. I usually get them super late notice, which is probably stupid on my part. But that's what we're looking at. So if you're at the track, let me know. If you're at Wall Stadium Speedway or you're up in the Northeast and want to check out some great modified racing, I would encourage you on a Saturday night, for a couple of bucks, get into Wall Stadium, come out, support some local racing, and see the show. It is a show. Tyler Truex actually won the Sportsman's this week. While we're on the Truex topic, the local racing, you saw Ryan this weekend at Xfinity. Tyler is his cousin who is at Sportsman. So I'm out at that track. I would like to be out at that track every single week at Wall Stadium Speedway. So I try to do my best to get out there. I call races up in the booth. If you get the chance to come out and experience, we have some great funnel cakes and some great snacks. Chicken tenders there are banging. You get to see some of the latest up-and-coming talent. We got young James Blewett running. Turkey Derby will be later this year at that track too. Yo, shout out Good Neighbor Dover Home Depot. Shout out Good Neighbor Home Depot. Hell yeah. The best Home Depot in America. But no, Wall Stadium, you come out, you can see, Mike Alcaro is a Legends just dominator. Got guys from Riverhead coming down in the limited late models the last few weeks. That field has been growing. They've been behaving themselves. So it's been nice to see those fendered cars running. We don't have a lot of those at Wall. They have factory stocks, but that's different than something like a limited late model. I'll be up in August before Daytona weekend. Well, if you happen to be at the track, let me know. Stop by for a couple hours, see some good racing. We do TQs, not every weekend, but TQs, Sportsman, Fast Fours. Fast Fours have been a lot of fun to watch lately. There's some new folks who are getting into the sport at Wall, and it's been fun to see. The Ashford brothers have been doing quite a bit of good racing in the Fast Fours that I've noticed over the last few weeks. They work really well together. They've been fun to watch, kind of try to charge through the field. There's some good personalities at that track, and you walk through the pit lane and get some good exposure to what local short track racing is really all about. So, with all that said, I appreciate everyone's support again. You can catch me here every Tuesday morning. I'd like to be going live a little bit more often. I'll be honest with you. I'm thinking about 2 things. Thinking about moving this show to Monday mornings. Right fresh off race weekend. Unless I'm not home at the setup to do the show. That would be the only time I wouldn't be able to do it, is if I was not here. But I'm thinking about shifting over to Mondays, potentially, to keep up with the news cycles. And then trying to do something else later in the week. Now, I don't know if that's going to be iRacing or if that's going to be another live like this. I am doing the INRS broadcast this week on Thursday night. They'll be live from iRacing from Indy. You could see John, the motorsports enthusiast. He will be racing, John DeRugis. He went from the booth last year into the car, so that'll be fun. You can catch them on YouTube as well. And then next year, I'm trying to set up a way for having a conversation tonight about doing some more iRacing broadcasts for a league next year as well on Wednesday nights. So really have a passion for the broadcast side of it. I think a lot of people want to get into that. People tell me I have a voice for radio, I guess. So I enjoy it. I like it. I want to do more of it. So if there's any opportunities out there that you've heard about or that you want to send Sal's way, I'm always happy to take advantage of what I can and get more involved. So on that note, we have some good things we have some good irons in the fire, some good things cooking in the pot. I will leave you all there. We're coming up on 2 hours this morning. Hopefully we'll have some good things next week. We'll be post Indy 500. You'll hear from NASCAR John as well. Trying to think if there's anything else. Did I miss anything else? I think we're pretty covered off. Dover's great. Miles the Monster is great. Denny Hamlin is great. Give Dover a second date. They won't, but they should. Make it a playoff race. Let's go back to September. Come on. You know you want to. All right. On that note, we're gonna cut it loose. I appreciate everybody for stopping by again, and we'll see you